Chapter 1. In the final minute before college applications closed, Sincere Miller changed his choice from the local university to N-City University. After shutting down the computer, he felt as if a major burden had been lifted. Leaning back in his chair, his gaze unexpectedly fell upon the triple photo on the desk. In the photo, the three stood at the entrance of the local university. Sincere was making a funny face, sticking out his tongue, flanked by Sophia Sullivan on the left and Zara Taylor on the right. Sophia's cool, calm eyes were fixed on him, her brow showing a doting smile. Zara leaned carelessly on his shoulder, his chin resting on the top of her head as he looked at her. Sincere let out a self-deprecating laugh, peeling off the slightly yellowed sticky note attached to the photo. It read, "Sincere Miller, Sophia Sullivan, and Zara Taylor are going to the local university together." The determined strokes of the handwriting were still clear after a long time. He shredded the sticky note without hesitation and tossed it into the trash can. "Sophia Sullivan, Zara Taylor, this time I won't be going with you. From now on, you go your broad and sunny path, and I'll walk my own narrow bridge." Ding dong. The phone on the desk suddenly rang. Sincere picked it up and saw a new message in the group chat titled "Sincere Miller and the two childhood sweethearts who will dote on him forever." Despite the group name mentioning 3 people, there were currently 4 people in the chat. 3 weeks ago, Grant Gordon had sent a message in the group. "Yay, I checked my scores and I'm definitely in the local university, so happy I can still be classmates with Sophia, Zara, and Sincere in the future. Looking forward to your guidance." Although that's what he said, the names tagged afterwards were only Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor. Sophia replied instantly, "As long as you need me, I'll always be by your side immediately." Zara followed up, "Me too. On the first day of school, the whole campus will know you're under this young lady's protection." Sincere scoffed and pulled his lip, continuing to scroll down the screen. 2 weeks ago, Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor had posted. Today, Sophia had bought a luxurious laptop and tagged Grant. "This is a gift for school. Did you get it? I can teach you if you don't know how to use it." Tomorrow, it was Zara Taylor buying the latest model cell phone. "Grantic, your current phone is too old. Use the latest model I bought for you." Grant was incredibly touched and sent several crying emojis in the group. "The gifts you sent are too valuable. I don't deserve them." They both responded simultaneously with the same words, "You're great. You deserve anything." Afterwards, they excitedly discussed in the group chat about holding a banquet to celebrate Grant. From beginning to end, Sincere Miller hadn't said a single word. No one had paid any attention to him either. Although he was supposed to be an important member of this group, he was inexplicably like an outsider. And today, Grant was flooding the chat with a pile of photos he had sent. Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor were like stars surrounding the moon, enclosing Grant in the center of a banquet hall. In the grand hall, gift boxes were piled into small mountains. Grant in the photos smiled sweetly, like a little prince showered with thousands of favors. After sending the photos, he specifically tagged Sincere in the group chat. "Sincere, are you really not coming? The banquet Sophia and Zara prepared for me is truly grand. I'm so happy." Sincere didn't initially want to reply, until he saw the suit Grant was wearing and the jewelry in his ears. His face darkened as he typed out a reply. "Grant Gordon, where did you get those clothes and jewelry?" Within seconds, Grant sent a string of voice messages. "Oh, I forgot to tell you, I didn't have a suit, and I remembered you must have a lot, so while you were out, I chose a suit and some jewelry from your closet." His voice was magnetic with a hint of a smile, and in the background, festive congratulatory sounds could be heard. Sincere felt a surge of anger just like that, saying in disbelief, "How did you know my home password?" "Taking things without asking is stealing. Don't you understand that?" The message wasn't even sent for a second before Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor's messages flooded the screen, speaking up to defend Grant in the chat. "Sincere, you're not someone so small-minded. It's just a suit and some jewelry. At worst, I'll pay you back." Yeah, why say such nasty things? How could Grant steal? He came into your house because he thought you were good friends. We're all going to the local university together now. We'll be classmates. Why make such a fuss? Just let him have it." Their messages were a barrage of accusations against him, and then each of them transferred money, offering to compensate him for his losses. Sincere was so angered that his chest heaved up and down, and that glaring group chat name on his phone screen now seemed to mock him. He, Sophia Sullivan, and Zara Taylor had grown up together since childhood, inseparable. At 3 years old, when they first met, the two girls would hold on to the little Sincere and refuse to let go, practically wanting to take him home to raise. At 6, Sincere liked a certain brand of yogurt. Sophia went and bought out all the yogurt of that brand on the entire street for him. Zara even made her family buy the factory so that it would only supply him in the future. At 13, the Miller family house caught fire. Arthur and Eleanor Miller were away on a business trip. Sincere was trapped inside. When everyone else was afraid to go in, it was young Sophia and Zara who rushed in without hesitation. To this day, they have scars on their chests from the burns they suffered. At 15, Sincere had severe stomach pains. Upon hearing this, Sophia immediately left the important competition she was attending and rushed back overnight. Zara, anxious, took him to the doctor and massaged his stomach, heartbroken. All these years they were always by his side, one on the left, one on the right, like two loyal queens, forbidding any other girl from approaching him. On his 17th birthday, both of them confessed their feelings to him. Sincere couldn't choose, nor did he want to start dating early. Just as he was about to be firm and refuse, they immediately grabbed his hand, stopping him from saying any words of rejection. They even humbly asked him for time to consider, and to give them an answer on the first day of university. Sincere didn't want to hurt anyone, so he reluctantly agreed. He thought he would figure out his feelings during this time, until Grant Gordon appeared. Grant was one of the poor students sponsored by the Miller family. Because of his good grades, he was able to transfer to Sincere Miller's high school. Using the pretense of thanking Sincere, he approached him step by step. At first, Sincere felt pity for him and often took care of him. He said he couldn't afford food, so Sincere often used his meal card to take him to eat. He said he couldn't keep up with the lessons, so Sincere sacrificed his time to tutor him. He said he had no friends, so Sincere introduced him to Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor. But he never expected that in just 3 months, Grant would painstakingly replace him step by step. Incidents similar to today had happened countless times within that year. The group chat was still buzzing with messages. Watching them maintain Grant while accusing him word for word, Sincere couldn't help but laugh in anger. Seeing the phrase, "all 4 of us are going to the local university," he typed out a few words with his fingertips. "Only the 3 of you." He paused for a moment, then deleted it. He accepted their money transfer, then tagged Grant. "Okay, I gave them to you. Not just the clothes and jewelry, but these 2 childhood sweethearts as well. I've given them all to you." Chapter 2. After replying, Sincere Miller immediately changed the code to the main door. He then began clearing out every memory related to Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor from the house. He gathered many ornaments and plush toys from the shelves and put them into a box. Before he knew it, the box was completely full. As he carried the box downstairs to throw it in the trash, he coincidentally ran into Sophia and Zara returning from their banquet. They spotted the 2 wedding veils in the trash can almost immediately. When they were little and played house with Sincere, they both fought over who would be his bride and almost got into a big fight. In the end, Sincere had to buy them both veils, which lessened the tension somewhat, but they still said that when they eventually got married, the other person's veil must be thrown away. At that time, Sincere just blinked. "How do you know I'll definitely marry one of you when I grow up?" The 2 girls instantly exploded, saying he absolutely had to choose between them. Now seeing Sincere throw them away, and not just that, he had thrown away all things related to them. Both of them rushed forward immediately. Zara Taylor, with her outgoing personality, grabbed his hand tightly, saying in disbelief, "Why would you throw away things you gave us? Are you still angry about what happened just now?" Yes, we did tell Grantic your main door code, but weren't you friends? We thought it wouldn't matter to tell him. Even if he took your things, we transferred money, and you took the money, didn't you? Sophia Sullivan, with her cool and introverted nature, her voice trembled slightly at the moment, sincere. It was just a small thing. It's fine if you're angry, but why throw things away? Do you have to be so drastic? He threw their things away, and that made him drastic? That made them break? What if he told them that he had secretly changed his college application to leave them forever? Wouldn't they lose their minds? I'm not angry. It's just that these things molded, of course, they need to be thrown away. He spoke in a flat tone, his eyes looking at them as calm as still water. Are you really not angry? They asked in unison. Sincere shook his head. No. After all, these two would have nothing to do with him from now on. What was there to be angry about? Hearing this, Zara Taylor immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Sophia Sullivan's brow relaxed slightly. If they molded, then it's good to throw them away. We'll buy you new ones later. He didn't reply, just hummed an acknowledgement, and turned to leave with indifference. Watching his back, Zara Taylor could still tell something was off. She knew Sincere was saying one thing but meaning another. She ran her hand through her hair, feeling a bit annoyed, exchanged a look with Sophia, and impatiently lifted her chin. Want to go coax him? Sophia Sullivan lowered her gaze, her expression unreadable. You go, she said coolly. Zara took a step forward, then stopped, possibly recalling something. Forget it. Anyway, he has to make a choice on the first day of school. If he's still angry, we'll explain the thing with Grantic then. Okay, Sophia nodded. They each went back to their own homes. For several days running, Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor didn't come to find Sincere Miller. Through Grant Gordon's uninterrupted social media posts, Sincere knew they had been accompanying Grant to fulfill his post-graduation wish list. Amusement parks they had never been to, the planetarium they were curious about, the distant monument implied Western equivalent of Great Wall only seen in books. They took Grant to experience them all, one by one. Sincere scrolled through each post, even managing to like some, until this day when he received his acceptance letter from City University. Just as he put the acceptance letter away, Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor knocked on his door together. Sincere, our acceptance letters arrived. Did yours? Let's go get them together. Sincere's expression was calm, his usually gentle eyes now only holding indifference. No need. Mine has already been delivered. He then moved to close the door. Sophia quickly grabbed the door with her hand. Wait, I booked a private room. Let's have dinner together to celebrate. Zara also stopped him, chiming in. After dinner we can go buy school supplies together, too. Sincere didn't want to go, but the two wouldn't leave and wouldn't let him close the door. Helpless, he could only nod in agreement. Walking into a vibrant restaurant with them, the spicy aroma filled his nostrils. Sincere instinctively rubbed his nose, his eyes watering slightly. At the reserved table, Grant Gordon was already putting food into the boiling broth within the pot. You're finally here, the pot's boiling. I've been waiting for you guys for a long time. Seeing Grant, Sincere instinctively frowned. Zara quickly explained. Sincere, Grantic said he also needed to buy school supplies, so we asked him to join us. Sophia, however, observed his expression carefully and said again, We'll be classmates in the future. We just thought we should take care of him a bit more. Any further explanations Sincere didn't want to hear. He just wanted to finish dinner and buy things quickly so he could go home. But sitting at the table, he couldn't eat a single bite. The spicy broth was terrifyingly full of chili peppers. Grant ate heartily, but Sincere had stomach problems since childhood and couldn't eat spicy food. After forcing down a few bites, his stomach burned with sharp pain. He called a server to add some dishes, but just as he got the menu in hand, Grant snatched it again and added even more spicy ones. Sophia and Zara watched him with smiles, having completely forgotten that Sincere couldn't eat spicy food. Now Sincere could see that Grant was entirely doing it on purpose. He didn't resist as he used to. That charade where the two childhood sweethearts would defend Grant and accuse him, he was tired of it, so he just quietly drank plain water, saying nothing. Chapter 3. When shopping for essential school items at the mall, Sincere Miller browsed back and forth in the winter clothing section, choosing several thick outfits. Sophia Sullivan noticed and said as a reminder, "The local university is in this city. The climate is mild all year round. You won't need these thick clothes. You don't have to buy them." The local university? He wasn't going to the local university. He didn't explain, just casually brushed it off. "Okay, I know. These clothes look decent. I can wear them when traveling." Sophia slightly furrowed her brow, moved her lips, but still said nothing more. On the way back, Grant Gordon hesitated for a long time before pulling on Zara Taylor and Sophia Sullivan's sleeves. "Zara, Sophia, can I not go back?" He bit his lip, his slightly lowered eyes brimming with tears. "The slum area where I live has had bad public security recently. I'm scared every time I go back, constantly on edge." As he spoke, he looked up pleadingly at Zara and Sophia. "Of course you can. You can stay at my place. My house has plenty of rooms. Pick whichever you like." Zara, momentarily soft-hearted, offered generously. Sophia also lightly, "Okay, Ed, you can stay at my place for a while too. It's very safe." Grant's smile instantly became unstoppable. He thanked them profusely and subtly glanced at Sincere. "Thank you both. You're so kind to me. I've never stayed in such a nice house before." Sincere leaned against the car window, ignoring him, his gaze aimlessly distant. It didn't matter where Grant stayed, it had nothing to do with him. The next morning, Sincere Miller received a call from his parents, Arthur and Eleanor Miller. "Sincere, are you really sure you don't want to go to the local university? Although City University is better. Didn't you promise Sophia and Zara you'd go to the same school? Those two girls have been attached to you since they were little. They can't stand you being gone for an hour. If they knew you changed schools, wouldn't they go crazy?" Sincere chuckled without humor. "That's their business. It has nothing to do with me. I did want to go to the local university because of the promise, but City University has a program I like better. This is my life. My own choice is all that matters." Hearing this, his parents didn't try to persuade him further, just worriedly reminded him, "If that's the case, take good care of yourself at home alone during this time. We'll come back to be with you after we finish our business trip and are done with work. Oh, and the gift Mom and Dad bought for school arrived. Remember to go get it, okay? Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Mom." Sincere hung up with a smile. Then he opened his phone messages and indeed found a pickup reminder from courier services 10 minutes ago. "Your package has been placed at the door. Please sign for it." He hurried to open the door but found nothing there. Just as he was about to call courier service with confusion, Grant Gordon suddenly came out of Sophia Sullivan's house, waving something in his hand. "Sincere, are you looking for this?" And in his hand, waving prominently, was a violin. "I just saw a package at your door, so I helped you open it." "Is this from your parents? It's such a beautiful violin. I really want one too. Can you give it to me?" As he spoke, his eyes shone as he stroked the violin in his hand, refusing to let go. Sincere had never seen anyone with such a complete lack of boundaries. For a moment he almost doubted he had heard correctly. "Didn't anyone tell you not to open other people's things without permission? If you like it so much, why don't you buy one yourself?" Hearing this, Grant's eyes immediately turned red and filled with tears. He choked out, You know my family can't afford one. Why would you humiliate me like this?" Sincere had no time to watch Grant's performance, nor did he want to say anything more to him. He reached out directly to take the violin, but Grant held tightly onto the violin, looking very fond of it, refusing to let go. In the struggle, he didn't know who let go first, but the beautifully polished violin fell to the ground with a thud. A noticeable, ugly crack appeared on the perfect body of the instrument. Chapter 4. Sincere Miller could no longer hold back his temper. Grant Gordon hearing the commotion, Sophia Sullivan stepped out quickly. Zara Taylor from next door also rushed out immediately upon hearing the noise. And as they rushed out, the first thing that met their eyes was Grant's tear-stained, delicate face. They both ran up to him. "What's wrong? Weren't you just fine? Who bullied you?" He sniffled, his voice clearly choked with sobs. "Don't blame Sincere. I accidentally dropped the violin I just got. It's natural to be sad. When I suddenly appeared, he just took out his frustration on me and pushed me. But I'm not angry. As long as he can be a little happier, I'm willing to bear anything." He dropped the violin? He was getting frustrated, yelled at Grant, and even pushed him? Sincere could understand every word Grant said, but when combined, only two words remained in his mind. Absurdity. It was absolute absurdity. He thought Grant was just manipulative, but he didn't expect him to be morally corrupt, able to twist black into white. Before Sincere could speak, Zara instantly darkened her face and rebuked Sincere Miller. "Even if you're going to throw a spoiled brat tantrum, this isn't the way." Apologized to Grant. Sophia also coldly agreed. "Sincere, you really went too far." Apologize quickly. Sincere's temples were throbbing with anger. He desperately controlled his emotions. "Me? Apologize?" "Sophia Sullivan, Zara Taylor. There's surveillance in this hallway. Do you want to see what the real situation is?" Hearing this, Grant immediately became anxious and cried even harder. "Sophia, Zara, don't blame Sincere. I'm really okay. If you stand up for me like this, I won't be able to be friends with Sincere in the future." Hearing this, Sophia immediately took out a tissue and gently wiped the tears from his face, also patting his back. "It's all right, it's not your fault. Don't cry, good boy." Zara looked at Sincere even more coldly. "Look at what you did, and then look at what Grantic did. The difference is obvious with that. The two girls protecting a crying Grant Gordon, their lily-white face tear-stained, turned and left without looking back. Watching their backs, Sincere only felt a knot of frustration tightening in his chest. He could only tell himself over and over. Soon he wouldn't have to see these three people, and they would have nothing to do with him anymore. 3 days later was the previously scheduled class reunion. As soon as Sincere Miller arrived, many classmates curiously looked behind him, and then disappointment filled their eyes. "Sincere, why didn't the two campus belles come? Didn't they follow you wherever you go?" "Yeah, I heard you all got into the local university. On the first day of school, you're going to have to choose between Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor. Have you decided who you're going to choose?" Before Sincere could speak, a few classmates who had always targeted him jumped in to answer. "Choose who? Does Sincere Miller even have a choice anymore? Sophia and Zara like Grant Gordon more now. Why are you still asking him? Haven't you figured it out?" The group laughed mockingly, waiting to see Sincere Miller's reaction. They expected him to get angry, but unexpectedly, he didn't say a word, not even giving them a glance. That group smirked, ready to keep taunting. As the persistent silence held, the private room door opened, and Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor, one on the left and one on the right, like two great queens guarding Grant Gordon, pushed the door open and came in. The group immediately looked toward Sincere Miller and started laughing again. Now that the young ladies don't like him anymore, I really don't know what he still has to be so conceited about. "That's not conceitedness, that's like a stray dog. Ha ha, look at him, he looks like a dog." The class president wiped his forehead, sweating from anxiety, and quickly tried to mediate. "Everyone's here, let the reunion begin." During the reunion, everyone was chatting and making noise. Sophia Sullivan carefully took off her jacket and draped it over Grant Gordon. "It's cold in here, wear more layers." Zara Taylor sat casually and wildly, playing tricks with the fruit knife in her hand. Swish, swish a few times, and the fruit peels cleanly fell into the trash can. Soon after, a bowl of fruit appeared in front of Grant. She spoke languidly, "Eat more fruit, drink less alcohol." They were extremely considerate in taking care of Grant. Mindful of the previous incident, they didn't even glance in Sincere Miller's direction. Sincere sat in the corner, calmly eating fruit, his expression showing complete indifference. Midway, someone suggested playing truth or dare for fun. Sincere initially didn't want to participate but was forcefully pulled into the game. After a few rounds, Sincere Miller lost.
Come on, it's Sincere Miller's turn to share a secret. A secret?
Sincere scoffed inwardly, his gaze sweeping over Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor. Then he said flatly, "My secret is on the first day of school, I will be throwing away 2 things." Chapter 5. The crowd didn't understand the deeper meaning in Sincere Miller's words and seemed a bit disappointed. That's not much of a secret, throwing away things. Is a secret? Okay, you barely got out of this round, but you can't be so perfunctory next time. He nodded but didn't explain. Unfortunately, the next round's loser was Sincere Miller again. Immediately, everyone in the private room started clamoring. "Sincere, we can't let you off so easy this time. Let's think of something hard. How about asking Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor, which one will you ultimately choose to be your girlfriend?" As soon as this question was asked, everyone in the room craned their necks, waiting for the answer. Sophia Sullivan nervously drank water several times in a row. Zara Taylor was just as tense, her fists clenched tightly, not relaxing for a moment. Sincere Miller glanced at them, somewhat surprised that they would still be nervous about his answer when their eyes seemed to be filled with Grant Gordon. He sneered. "Both of them." Sincere hadn't even finished speaking when Grant Gordon exclaimed. Everyone turned their heads and saw that Grant had accidentally spilled wine on himself. The liquid instantly soaked his collar. As his pure white shirt became wet, it clung tightly to his skin, the outline of his undershirt faintly visible. Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor's expressions changed slightly. One quickly pulled the jacket draped over Grant tighter, and the other cleared a path, leading him to change clothes. The game was involuntarily paused. With the center of attention gone, the crowd lost their interest in continuing the game. Some people whispered that they wanted to leave. The class president quickly called everyone's attention. "Don't leave yet. Mr. Lewis bought a lot of fireworks. Let's all go by the river and set them off to celebrate our new journey." Hearing this, those who had been quietly saying they wanted to leave fell silent. After waiting for a while, Grant Gordon finally arrived, escorted protectively by Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor. He was wearing a multi-layered haute couture shirt bought by Sophia. His leather shoes were even inlaid with diamonds, priceless, a gift from Zara. He made a dazzling entrance, like an elegant prince. People whispered among themselves, exclaiming in envy. After all, that shirt and those shoes were C-Brand's new haute couture items. Only Sincere Miller gave them a quick glance and paid no further attention. The group walked lively towards the spot to set off fireworks. Clusters of brilliant fireworks bloomed in the dark sky. Almost everyone was silently making wishes. Only Grant Gordon shouted loudly towards the river. "I hope Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor's wishes all come true." Hearing this, Sophia's usually indifferent eyes couldn't help but show some emotion. Zara, on the other hand, laughed freely and tenderly ruffled Grant's hair. "How silly you are. Who makes wishes for others?" Grant turned around, pouted slightly, and smiled at them. "But you two are the most important people in my heart." Sophia and Zara couldn't help but chuckle, saying in unison, "You are also the most important person to me." Sincere Miller only felt that the air was filled with a sickeningly sweet taste and didn't want to be near them anymore. So he turned and went to a corner, quietly appreciating the fireworks by himself. When Grant noticed, he immediately tugged on Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor. "Sincere seems unhappy. He hasn't even set off any fireworks. Let's go coax him, shall we? I'm not angry about what happened last time anymore, and you guys shouldn't be angry either." Hearing this, Sophia's eyes were deep, her feet rooted to the ground, unmoving. Zara also turned her head away, refusing to look at Sincere or budge. "Oh, since you two won't go, then I'll go coax him. I'll give him a surprise." With that, he smiled and picked up a bundle of fireworks. Approaching Sincere from behind, he quietly lit them and casually threw the bundle onto Sincere's head. With a bang, the fireworks exploded. Everyone looked over, only to see Sincere Miller engulfed in flames. Sincere, Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor's hearts clenched. They ran towards him like mad. Chapter 6. When he woke up again, Sincere Miller opened his eyes to a field of white. The strong smell of disinfectant filled his nostrils. He moved slightly, and his entire body hurt severely. The nurse changing his dressing quickly stopped him. "Don't move, you have severe burns on your body. Luckily, you were brought in time and had skin grafts, so you won't have scars. Otherwise, such a handsome face and such pale skin would have been completely ruined." Sincere thought of the scene before he lost consciousness, and a chill ran down his heart. He truly didn't know how someone could be so malicious. He wanted to speak, but the pain throughout his body left him with no strength. At this moment, the nurse said again, "Oh yes, it was two very beautiful girls who brought you to the hospital. You were unconscious when they brought you, so you didn't see how frantic they were. They stayed by your side the entire time you were unconscious these past few days. They were just persuaded to go rest just now. Should we wake them up? They'll surely be so happy to know you're awake." Sincere quickly stopped her. He didn't want to see Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor. The nurse nodded and pushed the dressing cart away. But before long, Sophia and Zara, having heard the news, still rushed over. They were usually meticulous about cleanliness, but now their eyes were bloodshot, their shirts hadn't been changed in days, and their eyes were filled with heartbreak. The moment they saw him, their eyes trembled. "Sincere, are you okay? We're so sorry, we didn't protect you well." Before Sincere could speak, Sophia spoke again, handing over a large stack of handwritten apology letters. "Sincere, I know you're in a lot of pain. Grant definitely did something wrong this time, but he didn't mean to either. He's been feeling guilty for as long as you've been unconscious, constantly thinking about how to apologize to you. Please forgive him." Hearing these words, Sincere's palms went cold. "I'm the one who's injured. He feels guilty, but am I supposed to be responsible for that? Sincere, that's not what I meant. Grant just wants to apologize to you." "Wants to apologize? Fine, bring him here. Let him suffer the same injuries I did." After saying that, he closed his eyes, not wanting to look at their faces anymore. Zara Taylor frowned slightly, her voice as gentle as possible. "Sincere, don't be so aggressive. Grantic is really remorseful." "Remorseful?" Sincere laughed, tears welling up. "He's so remorseful. If your hearts ache for him, go see him. What are you doing staying in my hospital room?" His eyes were full of indifference, like rejecting people from 1,000 miles away. Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor exchanged a look, sighing helplessly. They knew that nothing they said now would get through to him. Zara said helplessly, "Sincere, I found the best doctor in the city for you. There won't be any scars, don't worry." Sophia also added, "I've left bodyguards from the Sullivan family here. Just tell them if you want anything to eat or use. We'll come see you every day." With that, the two took a deep look at Sincere Miller, who was resting with his eyes closed on the bed, and walked away. After they left, Sincere gritted his teeth, panting from the intense pain. Since the moment he woke up, the anesthetic had worn off. His whole body felt like it was being twisted by knives. He had been suppressing his grievances and pain, refusing to show any sign of vulnerability. He didn't know how much time had passed until Arthur and Eleanor Miller rushed in. "Sincere, are you hurting?" As soon as his parents' concerned words came out, Sincere could no longer hold back. The tears he had suppressed for so long finally flowed out. "Dad, Mom." He couldn't stop himself from weeping aloud. "I'm hurting so much." Eleanor Miller tearfully hugged him, heartbroken. Arthur Miller's face was dark with anger. He banged his fist on the table hard, bringing a wolf into the house indeed. That Grant Gordon must have done it on purpose. "Starting today, we will cancel our sponsorship to Grant Gordon. We will also do our best to find evidence and pursue all his responsibilities." After a long time, Sincere Miller's emotions finally stabilized. His parents also had to leave due to work. "Sincere, recover well. Mom and Dad are busy with work. We'll go now, but we absolutely won't let him get away with it." His parents came and went quickly. The hospital room became empty and quiet again. But Sincere didn't feel as sad as before. His heart felt warm. He closed his eyes, and just as he was drifting off to sleep, there was a knock on the door. Before he could speak, he heard the hospital room door being pushed open. Chapter 7 this time. It was Grant Gordon. He was crying profusely, tears rolling down in large drops, sobbing as he spoke. "I'm sorry, Sincere. Please forgive me. I can't lose the Miller family sponsorship, and I can't go to jail. I can't live like this. I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to. Please, please forgive me." He repeated his apologies countless times, but Sincere Miller couldn't hear a single sincere word. If they hadn't cut off his sponsorship, if they weren't holding him accountable, would he have come to apologize? He didn't need to think to know the answer. Sincere didn't want to see him. He reached out and pressed the nurse call button nearby. "Nurse, I don't know him. He's disturbing my rest. Please help me get him out, thank you." Hearing this, the nurse's eyes immediately sharpened with alertness. She quickly grabbed Grant's arm and asked him to leave. Grant stumbled, still pleading as he was being pushed out. Just then, two voices suddenly came from behind him. "Don't touch him." Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor quickly supported Grant, asking softly, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," he said, trying to sound casual, but his red-rimmed eyes revealed everything. "Sincere doesn't want to see me. I should just go." He said this, but made no move to leave. Seeing this, the two quickly grabbed his hand and walked back into the hospital room. Zara tried to persuade Sincere again. "Sincere, Grantic is truly remorseful. Canceling the sponsorship is one thing, but holding him legally responsible is too much. Please forgive him this one time." Grant grabbed Zara's hand, crying heartbrokenly, "Zara, you don't have to speak for me. Even though it wasn't intentional, if it weren't for me, Sincere wouldn't have been hurt or needed skin grafts, suffering so much pain. I know he won't forgive me easily." As he spoke, he pulled out a knife from somewhere, tears in his eyes, and looked at Sincere with determination. "Sincere, you said you'd forgive me if I also got hurt, right?" With that, he held the knife and slashed forcefully at his arm. Crimson blood instantly gushed out, deeply stinging everyone's eyes. Seeing him about to make a second cut, Sophia's eyes narrowed. She immediately snatched the knife from Grant's hand and fiercely cut her own arm. "I'll do it for him." Zara was not to be outdone. She took the knife and cut her own arm. "If one cut isn't enough, I'm here too. I'll bear it for Grantic." Sincere Miller lay on the hospital bed, watching the two compete to get hurt for Grant Gordon. For a moment he felt a strange disconnect. Did he really know these two people in front of him? The three of them had been childhood friends for over a decade. Grant had only appeared for a month. How could things change so fast? The three people in front of him were still arguing back and forth. Sincere suppressed the ache in his chest, lowered his gaze, and finally spoke. "I don't accept emotional blackmail. Whether I forgive or not is my business. I need to rest now. Please leave." His voice was as cold as ice. Even with the blood flowing from the arms of the three people in front of him, his expression showed no change. Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor exchanged a look, both seeing surprise in each other's eyes. They hadn't expected Sincere Miller to be so cold. Grant Gordon couldn't stop his tears. His eyes were red and swollen from crying. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry." Sophia gently cooed, wiping the tears from his face. "Good boy, don't cry. It's not your fault. We're here for you. Yes, the Miller family isn't sponsoring you anymore, but we are. Don't worry about future tuition. As for the rest, you don't need to worry either. We'll find a way to clear you," Zara added comforting words. Hearing this, Sincere closed his eyes, a mocking smile playing on his lips. He naturally knew that if they wanted to, they could certainly protect Grant Gordon. So why come here to beg for his forgiveness? Were they intentionally putting on a show of deep affection for him in front of Sincere? He stayed in the hospital for a long time. Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor visited him almost every day. He refused to see them each time. Unable to visit, Sophia and Zara could only place the gifts they bought to please him and his favorite snacks outside his door every day. They waited for someone to go inside so the items could be taken in. But each time Sincere Miller gave them to the nurses on duty. Chapter 8. Finally, on the day of his discharge, Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor came to pick him up. Sincere, your aunt and uncle are away on a business trip. We came to get you. Sincere Miller didn't even look at them and turned to leave in a different direction. Sophia's face darkened. She grabbed his hand. Sincere, because you were unhappy, we haven't seen Grant Gordon recently. It's understandable you dislike him, but why have you become so distant with us too? Hearing this, Sincere couldn't help but find it laughable. Was he intentionally being distant? Hadn't they gradually pushed him away, deliberately creating distance between them? He just chuckled a few times and didn't answer. Zara Taylor drove the car over and blocked the exit. Sincere, if you don't get in the car, we'll stay here and block this road. I guarantee that no cars on this street will be able to pass. As if to confirm her words, a few cars in the distance quickly protested by honking their horns a few times. Then came the second car, the third, more and more. Zara opened the car door. Sorry, I'm just coaxing someone. Once he forgives me, I'll move the car right away. Sincere didn't want to disrupt traffic, so he could only get in the car. And as soon as he got in, the two began to shower him with attention. Sincere, look, this is the cake from your favorite bakery. Haven't you been wanting to eat it? I waited in line for so long. Zara was like a little dog seeking praise, holding up the strawberry cake, her eyes shining brightly. No need. I don't like it now. It's too sweet, he refused coldly. Sophia Sullivan pushed a box of exquisitely packaged ointment towards Sincere Miller. It's okay. If you don't like it, you don't like it. This is an ointment I got from a famous medical professor abroad. It's good for wound healing. He pushed the ointment back. No need. The hospital prescribed medicine. I won't use these. No matter how much attention they gave him, Sincere declined them one by one. Suddenly, he felt like something was tucked into the gap of the seat. He pulled it out. It was a small piece of paper. Written in delicate handwriting were the words, "Grantic Prince's passenger seat." Sincere couldn't help but scoff. Zara Taylor quickly snatched the note, tearing it into pieces. Sincere, don't misunderstand. This is from when I lost a game last time. Her hurried actions showed how afraid she was of him misunderstanding. Sincere, however, laughed lightly with complete indifference. It has nothing to do with me. He closed his eyes, showing his lack of interest, not caring about their reaction. Zara Taylor's face instantly changed. How can it have nothing to do with you? Have you forgotten what you promised us before? You have to make a choice on the first day of school. Sophia Sullivan's cool gaze shifted slightly. She also couldn't help but ask, have you decided? Sincere Miller glanced at them. It seems more appropriate for you to ask Grant Gordon that question. Why ask Grant? We don't feel that way about him. Sincere, are you misunderstanding something? Their expressions changed abruptly. They were both anxious to explain, but Sincere didn't want to listen anymore. He closed his eyes, his head resting against the car window, deliberately ignoring them. Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor didn't dare to speak again to disturb him. They just exchanged a look and felt that Sincere Miller had changed a lot. He had become increasingly indifferent to them. This wasn't their initial goal. They wanted to explain, but for a moment, they didn't know where to start. So they could only comfort themselves that things would get better on the first day of school. As soon as Sincere Miller arrived home, he received a call from Mr. Lewis. Sincere, you did very well this time. You're the top scorer in our city. The school would like to invite you back to give a speech to the younger students and share your study tips. Sincere hesitated for a moment. If he gave the speech, his change in university choice wouldn't be kept a secret. But after only a few seconds of hesitation, he agreed. They would find out about the change in university sooner or later. He had only kept it hidden to avoid trouble, but the decision was final. Their frustration couldn't change anything. He couldn't be hesitant and scared just because he was afraid they'd find out. More than that, he wanted to share some study experience with the younger students. Thinking this, he spent 3 days preparing thoroughly for the speech. However, just as he was about to go on stage, Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor blocked his path, standing in front of him. Zara spoke a little awkwardly. Sincere, You don't need to go on stage this time. How about we go out to eat something together? Or if there's anywhere you want to go, we can take you." Sincere Miller looked at her, his expression a bit nervous, her eyes glancing towards the corner several times, and asked in confusion, "What do you mean?" Sophia Sullivan was silent for a few seconds before taking over. "Grantick really wants to practice his public speaking skills, so I asked my father to step in and give this speaking opportunity to him. Mr. Sullivan had invested in some properties. It was just changing a speaker temporarily. A matter of his word." Just then, Grant Gordon's clear voice came from the stage. Sincere followed the sound with his gaze and saw that Grant was indeed on stage. Watching Sincere frozen in thought, Sophia and Zara couldn't help but feel anxious. They waited for him to get angry, but after a while he remained cold-faced, showing no signs of anger. All the various coping mechanisms they had prepared were useless at this moment. Sincere Miller just gave a slight smile, said nothing, and turned to leave. "Too bad. Sophia Sullivan, Zara Taylor, you missed your last chance to learn the truth." Chapter 9. On the first day of university, Arthur and Eleanor Miller specially returned. "Sincere, are your bags packed? N City University is so far from here, over 2,000 miles. You absolutely must take everything you need." Eleanor Miller fussed, repeatedly checking the number of bags. Arthur Miller also said with concern, "Dad will take you to the airport. I'm worried about you going so far from home by yourself." "No need," Sincere Miller said with a smile, shaking his head. "I'm grown up now. Mom and Dad, you're busy with work. You don't need to worry about me." Even though he said this, Eleanor Miller was still a bit uneasy, wiping away tears, her voice trembling slightly with emotion. "How can we not be worried about you going to such a distant place by yourself? The local university is right here in the city, but you have to go so far." Sincere smiled and hugged Eleanor Miller. "Mom, you're crying like this just because I'm going to school. If I go away for work in the future, you might cry yourself unconscious." Only then did Eleanor Miller remember something. She quickly took out a piece of paper from her bag with a phone number written on it. "Sincere, actually, when you were little, the family made arrangements for a marriage. But Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor, those two kids, have been clinging to you since childhood, and we always thought you'd marry one of them, so we never mentioned it. Now it seems they aren't suited for you. That girl also attends N City University, the same school as you. Although engagement arrangements from childhood aren't really a thing anymore. If you two get along, that's great. If not, you can still ask her for help if you need anything. It's good to have someone there." With that, Eleanor Miller placed the piece of paper in Sincere Miller's hand. Just as he was about to decline, Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor suddenly walked in. "Don't worry, Aunt and Uncle. We'll take good care of Sincere." Everyone present knew the two girls had misunderstood, thinking they were being talked about, but everyone remained silent. No one told them the truth. Sincere Miller calmly put the note into his pocket and said, "Mom, don't worry, I understand." Eleanor Miller wiped her tears and responded. Arthur Miller also couldn't help but get teary-eyed. Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor didn't notice anything unusual and quickly went to Sincere Miller's room to enthusiastically help him with his luggage. But once inside, both of them were startled. Sophia said in surprise, "Isn't the local university right here in the city? You can come home any time. Why are you bringing so many clothes? It doesn't matter how I do things. It has nothing to do with you. It's normal for me to have a lot of clothes." Sincere casually dismissed her question. Zara Taylor chimed in, Right. You can buy as many as you want. I'll take you to buy more after the paperwork is done." Sophia didn't speak further. She picked up a suitcase casually. Her usually cool face showed a trace of tension that was hard to detect. "Sincere, take my car. I'll drive you." She hesitated for a moment, then stammered, I prepared a surprise for you at school." Zara quickly grabbed the suitcase from her hand. "No, take my car. I prepared a surprise too." They pulled at Sincere from either side, jostling. Suddenly, one of their phones rang. "Sophia, Zara, I got into a car accident on the way to school," whimpering. It was Grant Gordon, Sophia Sullivan, and Zara Taylor's expressions changed drastically. They quickly and anxiously asked, "How are you? What happened? Are you hurt?" Grant's sobbing voice came from the other end. I'm okay, just startled." Sophia made an immediate decision. "Don't move, wait for me where you are. I'll come find you right away." Zara also comforted him. "Don't be scared. I'm here for you. I'm coming." After hanging up, they remembered Sincere Miller next to them. Before they could speak, he interrupted the words they hadn't yet voiced. "You don't need to take me. I'll go to school myself." Sophia hesitated, wanting to speak but didn't, finally just saying, "Then when you get to school, remember to call me." Zara also stammered, "Sincere, you said you'd choose one of us on the first day of school. Don't forget." Sincere Miller looked at them with cold indifference the whole time, neither nodding nor answering. The two girls felt something was off, but Zara's phone rang again. Grant Gordon on the other end was crying piteously, saying he was scared and his legs hurt. The two finally had to leave. Before they went, they didn't forget to move Sincere Miller's luggage to his family's driver's car. Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor kept looking back with each step, repeatedly reminding him to contact them. However, Sincere Miller never replied with a single word. Finally, the two got into their respective cars, and he also got into his. As soon as he sat down, Sincere Miller's phone vibrated slightly. He opened it and found it was from Grant Gordon. "Sincere Miller, did you see clearly? As long as I make one call, they'll still abandon you, even if you become their boyfriend. If you keep sponsoring me, I might consider letting you have one of them." Seeing this message, Sincere Miller scoffed. His fingertips typed out a few words. "No need. I don't want either of them. They're all yours." After sending it, he decisively blocked Grant, then Sophia, and Zara. Finally, he broke his phone's SIM card and threw it away. He took out a new card from his bag and inserted it. The first number he entered was the one his mother had just given him for his arranged marriage partner. The driver pressed the accelerator, and the car headed towards the airport, in the opposite direction of the other two. He looked at the scenery whizzing by and smiled slightly. This time, he would completely begin a new life. Chapter 10. The moment the plane took off, Sincere Miller thought the past was over, and he was beginning his brand new life. And this part of his life would not involve Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor. As his plane was taking off, simultaneously, Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor stood at the entrance of the local university, bouquets in hand, their faces growing darker and darker. They hadn't seen the Miller family car yet, and their premonition grew increasingly ominous. For some reason, an uneasy feeling settled in their hearts, and this feeling gradually expanded. One thought spontaneously arose. That Sincere Miller didn't want to accept their confession. Maybe he just entered the campus through another entrance. They hardly dared to think of the other impossible possibility. The countless bouquets arranged behind them attracted the attention of many students. Some busybodies even took photos of them and posted them on the university forum. "Our university's new beauties are making such a grand entrance on the first day. Who are they confessing to? Ah, I'm dying. Who is this lucky person?" You really don't know. They both have distinct styles. One is cool and aloof, the other is passionate and unrestrained. Could they be confessing to the same boy? Are they still at the campus gate? I'm going to see too. Countless people saw the forum post and rushed over to watch. More and more people gathered, and the onlookers whispered among themselves, all seemingly wanting to know who could be so lucky to be confessed to by such two stunning beauties. Sophia Sullivan didn't know how many times she had called Sincere Miller's phone, but he still didn't answer. Zara Taylor's face was as black as the bottom of a cooking pot. "He blocked me. I can't reach him at all." She clenched her phone tightly, almost twisting it out of shape. Clearly, Sophia's cool eyes harbored the same frustration. Me too. They had never encountered anything like this before. Sincere Miller had never possibly failed to contact them like this. He must have been in some kind of accident. The flowers and other gifts like engagement rings they had prepared in advance were carelessly left where they were. Sophia Sullivan dashed home recklessly. Zara Taylor also frantically searched the campus for Sincere Miller. The Miller family home door was knocked upon again. This time, a long time passed before someone opened it. It wasn't Sincere Miller, but the housekeeper. "Miss Sullivan, may I help you?" Seeing the housekeeper, Sophia frowned tightly, momentarily speechless. After a moment of silence, she spoke. "Is Sincere still at home?" As she spoke, her eyes peered inward. There were no suitcases belonging to Sincere Miller in the house, nor was there any sign of him. The housekeeper was completely bewildered. "Miss Sullivan, the young master went out with you this morning, didn't he? Why would he still be at home now?" Sophia lightly hmmed, and then continued to ask, "Are Mr. and Mrs. Miller still at home? I have some questions for them." "Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Miller went on a business trip after you left this morning. They're not at home." "You can call them," the housekeeper answered honestly, then slowly closed the door. Sophia Sullivan's eyes were deep, her fingers clenched into fists. "If only I could get through on the phone," she muttered to herself, feeling inexplicably desolate. Could it be that Sincere really didn't want to accept their confession, and that's why he was avoiding them? They had rushed to the school as fast as they could after dealing with Grant Gordon's matter to prepare the surprise. So why were they still one step too late? They were just a little bit away from being able to explain everything clearly. Sophia Sullivan returned to school forlornly. Chapter 11, however, Zara Taylor was no better off on the other side. She asked everyone she met if they knew Sincere Miller. Students passing by just shook their heads. A kind student offered a reminder. "Hey, it's not easy to find someone like this. If you're looking for someone, try asking at the Student Affairs office or checking the registrar's office. They can look him up in the system. That would be much faster." Zara Taylor was so anxious that she felt dizzy. She thanked the student repeatedly. She had been so silly using such a stupid method to look for someone. After receiving the pointer, Zara quickly ran to the registrar's office and found the teacher responsible for student records. "Teacher, my boyfriend is also a freshman at this school, but he's been unreachable since he arrived. I'd like to ask for your help checking if he has registered." The teacher hesitated for a long time, until Zara Taylor stated that she could donate a library building. Only then did the teacher smile brightly and agree. She searched the system multiple times, but couldn't find anyone named Sincere Miller, not even someone with the same name. At this point, the teacher also became unsure. "Student, are you sure your boyfriend's name is this, Sincere Miller? Is it spelled correctly?" She pointed at the name on the screen, double-checking repeatedly. Zara Taylor nodded quickly. "Yes, it's correct. How could I possibly forget his name?" Now it was the teacher's turn to feel flustered. She instinctively checked the freshman admission list. She looked through it several times, along with Zara Taylor, examining it countless times before drawing a conclusion. "Student, the Sincere Miller you are talking about is not a student at our school. We didn't admit anyone with that name this year, including previous years. The system records don't make mistakes." "Could it be that your boyfriend lied to you?" "If he really lied to you, you should report it to the police immediately," the teacher said with concern. Hearing these words, Zara Taylor felt as if struck by lightning. The sound of thunder echoed in her mind. What had she heard? The local university hadn't admitted Sincere Miller. Then where had he gone? With his grades, he would be highly sought after by any university. It was absolutely impossible for him to have not been accepted anywhere. What on earth had happened? In that instant, Zara Taylor felt as if her mind had rusted and she couldn't think normally. Just then, Sophia Sullivan, having received the news, also rushed over. The aura around her was exceptionally cold. Barely anyone dared to approach her. They all wanted to stay 1,000 miles away. "How did it go?" she asked coldly, clearly in a bad mood, suffocating on bottled-up frustration. Zara Taylor shook her head and told her everything she had just learned. Sophia's gaze deepened, her eyes narrowed slightly. Where did he go? Did he leave us? This thought couldn't help but arise in both their hearts. Zara Taylor was unable to accept it. Her eyes were slightly red-rimmed. For a moment she couldn't stand still, her tall figure swaying slightly. Sophia Sullivan was no better off. As early as on the way to the university, she had considered every possibility. She had even thought that Sincere Miller was just being jealous and sulking, but she had never imagined he would leave them. For a moment, neither of them could accept this point. For a fleeting moment, they both wondered if they had pushed him too hard, that this is why he did this. But the next moment, a boy's voice interrupted their thoughts. Chapter 12. Hey folks, there's a boy by the campus gate who picked up your gifts and flowers. He says he knows you guys. Go check him out, it's raining outside. Wouldn't want him catching a cold hearing this. Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor exchanged a look, both seeing surprise and excitement in the other's eyes. Zara Taylor was momentarily overjoyed. She quickly went outside and rushed towards the campus gate. Sophia Sullivan walked behind, but her steps also quickened significantly. Could it be Sincere Miller? This impossible fantasy took root in both their minds. Maybe it really was just him playing a trick on them. It wouldn't matter if they weren't at the same university. As long as he was still willing to accept their confession, they thought this simultaneously. Getting closer and closer to the campus gate, Zara Taylor's heart pounded wildly. Sophia Sullivan was also incredibly nervous. It wasn't until the boy holding 2 bouquets at the campus gate turned around that they both froze. How is it you? Grant Gordon, why are you here? Where's Sincere Miller? Zara Taylor and Sophia Sullivan spoke one after the other. Grant Gordon was completely soaked by the rain, but he still stubbornly used his small body to shield the rain, preventing it from hitting the flowers and gifts in his arms. Sophia, Zara, you're finally here. I was keeping your gifts safe for you. Why hasn't Sincere come yet? I've been waiting here for so long. His thin frame was battered by wind and rain, yet it revealed a sense of stubbornness. Unfortunately, neither of them was in the mood to appreciate it. Zara Taylor replied dismissively with disappointment. You don't need to guard these. You go back first. Sincere. Won't be coming, Sophia Sullivan said despairingly, looking at the scattered flowers on the ground. Neither of them had expected this outcome. Their hearts full of anticipation instantly fell empty, and they naturally felt terrible. They were in no mood to comfort Grant Gordon at this moment. However, he didn't give up. Holding the gifts, he smiled and tried to coax them. Sophia, Zara, don't be discouraged. Sincere just hasn't made up his mind yet. Maybe in a while he'll figure it out. Look, the gifts you prepared are very good. Boys like me really like them, and Sincere will definitely like them too. Unfortunately, neither Zara Taylor nor Sophia Sullivan were truly listening to these words. They, who in the past would never let Grant Gordon get hurt even a little, now could turn a blind eye to the fact that he was standing in the rain. He won't like them, Sophia Sullivan said flatly. They had grown up with him since childhood. How could they not understand what he meant? His actions were a very clear rejection. To get away from them, he had changed his university choice, but had never told them. Was the meaning of this action not clear enough? Zara Taylor also lowered her gaze, her entire demeanor radiating sadness. Perhaps they had made a wrong move. They originally thought that being nice to Grant Gordon would make Sincere Miller jealous, causing him to compete with Grant and eventually figure out whose confession he should accept. But they never expected that he wouldn't want either of them. Chapter 13. Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor's eyes were filled with melancholy. Just then, Grant Gordon suddenly opened 2 gift boxes and put on the pair of jade bracelets and a jade necklace from inside. He held their hands, one in each, and stated firmly, Sophia, Zara, Sincere doesn't like them, but I like them. You're wonderful. Sincere Miller just can't see it. Can you also look at the person right beside you? I'm good too. Grant Gordon shouted these words despite the rain soaking his clothes. In that instant, the entire campus fell silent, including Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor. Zara Taylor awkwardly pulled at her lips, saying in a joking tone, Grant, you're not kidding, are you? Stop fooling around. Take off that jade necklace. You can't wear it. Be a good boy. Sophia Sullivan stared at Grant's hands, her eyes so cold they seemed to want to chop them off. Who gave you permission to wear these bracelets? Take them off. Don't make me do it. They weren't meant for you. Her icy cold hand clasped tightly around Grant Gordon's wrists. Using the slipperiness from the rain, she forcefully pulled off the bracelets he had just put on. Grant Gordon froze almost on the spot. How could this be? Almost instantly, tears welled up. Grant cried forlornly, repeatedly apologizing. I'm sorry. These don't belong to me, I know. They belong to Sincere Miller. I misunderstood that you liked me. I was overthinking. Before Zara Taylor could take down the necklace, he took it off and placed it in her palm. I'm sorry, it's all my fault for taking Sincere Miller's things. I thought if he rejected you, I would have a chance. Turns out it was just my wishful thinking. Grant Gordon gave a self-mocking smile, then cried and ran away. However, he didn't get far before realizing he didn't hear footsteps following him. This time, he was completely panicked. He had thought that Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor were already under his control, already loved him to the point of being unable to break free. So why was it still like this? Even though Sincere Miller had abandoned them on the agreed day of confession, why did they still love him so much? Was he, Grant Gordon, truly that inferior to Sincere Miller? Grant stood by a remote lake, lost for a moment. It was also his first day at this university. After accidentally wandering off, he had forgotten how to get back to the main path. Why does even the path have to make things difficult for me? Grant was so angry he kicked a nearby tree, but because the road was slippery from the rain, he accidentally fell, splitting his legs wide in a painful position. His carefully prepared image was ruined. Grant was almost in tears from frustration. He lay on the ground in pain, grimacing for a long time before managing to crawl up. Why do they all like Sincere Miller so much? Even after all this, they still love him so much? Family background, status, money, parents who love him, childhood sweethearts he grew up with. He has everything. Why couldn't he share a little with me? Even if he just let me have Sophia Sullivan or Zara Taylor, that would be fine. Why treat me like this? The resentment in his heart grew stronger and stronger. He slammed his fist hard against the tree trunk, not even noticing that blood was seeping from his knuckles. However, at this moment, Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor were carefully putting their family heirlooms back into their boxes. They had never intended to accept Grant Gordon. For Grant, they only felt pity, and more so, they saw him as a tool to make Sincere Miller jealous. Now that Sincere Miller wasn't here, there was no need to be so nice to him. Moreover, because of him, Sincere Miller hadn't chosen anyone. Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor exchanged a look, both seeing dissatisfaction towards the other. If only they hadn't made that accursed promise back then, perhaps they would have already won Sincere Miller over by now. Instead of being like this, having no idea where he had gone, suddenly Sophia said, "Mr. Lewis knows." Hearing this, Zara Taylor's head snapped up reflexively. Mr. Lewis was their high school homeroom teacher. He would definitely know which university Sincere Miller had gone to. Chapter 14. Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor quickly opened their phones. "Hello, Mr. Lewis, it's Sophia Sullivan. I wanted to ask which university Sincere Miller went to." Mr. Lewis on the other end of the phone was very surprised. "Ah, the three of you are together almost every day. Don't you know which university Sincere Miller went to?" Sophia Sullivan was slightly ashamed and fell silent. Mr. Lewis didn't think much of it and spoke proudly. Sincere Miller had the best grades. He went to N City University. We were a little surprised when our school received the notification, wondering why he didn't stay at the local university with you two. But the decision was final. You didn't ask us at the time, and we teachers just assumed you knew and had things sorted out. Look, the admission list was posted in the class group chat at the time. You'll know if you look. Hearing this, Zara Taylor quickly opened the class group chat and diligently scrolled through it. Sophia Sullivan thanked Mr. Lewis and hung up. Sure enough, on the admission list, after Sincere Miller's name, N City University was clearly listed. In that instant, both of them froze. N City University, miles away from their city, thousands of miles apart. Why would he choose to go there? He had clearly filled out the local university before, according to their promise. Why did he suddenly change his mind? Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor saw the confusion in each other's eyes. Had he been planning to leave them forever for that long? But why? Didn't he feel even a little attraction towards them? This question perhaps only Sincere Miller himself could answer. If it were him, he would tell them that perhaps in the past there was certainly attraction, and maybe even what could be called liking. However, that liking was personally destroyed by the two of them. No boy could accept betrayal from people close to him, not even friends. Sincere Miller could already be considered someone with a good temper. He had given them countless chances, but he never expected that the two childhood sweethearts who had always stood firmly by his side would just as steadfastly choose someone else. After so many times, he should have given up hope. He had just gotten off the plane when he saw a woman holding a sign with his name on it. The woman's features were deep and defined. Her most unique eyes were the color of the sky, a noticeable mixed heritage. She was tall with long legs, her superior figure attracting many glances. Sincere Miller. As she walked closer, he heard her pronounce his name carefully. His deep, magnetic voice chuckled. Sincere Miller was momentarily stunned. "I'm Victoria Foster, your arranged marriage partner." Victoria Foster reached out and took the small suitcase from Sincere Miller's hand, introducing herself. Then, she called the Foster family's driver to help move Sincere Miller's remaining luggage into the car. He just stood there in a daze, letting Victoria Foster lead the way. It wasn't until he felt the cool climate of N City that he instinctively shivered, and his mind instantly cleared. "I didn't mistake you, did I? Are you really the arranged marriage partner my mother mentioned?" The moment he posed the question, a windbreaker was draped over him, extremely considerate. "I think I shouldn't be mistaken." Victoria Foster, as if performing magic, produced a photo and placed it in front of Sincere Miller. He took it and saw that the person in the photo was himself. The photo also carried a hint of her cedarwood scent and her body heat. For a moment, Sincere Miller smiled, a little embarrassed. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have doubted you." Chapter 15. "It's all right. Let's go to the university." Victoria Foster hooked her lips understandingly and continued, "I'm in the Finance and Management program at N City University's Business School, 1 year ahead of you. You can find me if you need anything." Saying this, she showed the QR code on her phone. "Add me as a friend." Sincere Miller quickly nodded and scanned the code on his phone successfully. Victoria Foster took him to his dormitory building and, along with the driver, moved all his luggage into his room. Before he could refuse, she had already begun unpacking his belongings, including making his bed. Only Sincere Miller's personal clothes were unpacked by him. She essentially took care of everything else. She even noticed anything he was missing immediately and quickly sent someone to buy it. Sincere Miller was momentarily a little overwhelmed by her service. She was simply too considerate. Watching Victoria Foster's busy figure, Sincere Miller had the illusion that she was truly his girlfriend. But the illusion lasted only a moment. Then he snapped back to reality. With the cautionary tales of Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor, he hardly wanted to open his heart again. Things were just fine as they were now. "Thank you very much today, Senior Foster. I'll treat you to dinner sometime." He thanked her politely. Victoria Foster noticed his distance, chuckled softly, and replied with an okay. Even when Sincere Miller lay in bed, falling into a deep sleep, Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor at the local university felt no trace of sleepiness. With Sincere Miller not at the local university, everything here seemed to have lost its appeal. Sophia Sullivan was uninterested and refused all class activities. Even the upcoming military training she used connections to avoid. She stood on the balcony and dialed her father, Mr. Sullivan. "Hello, Dad. I want to transfer to N City University." Her father on the other end was stunned for a long time, then angry shouts came through. "Sophia Sullivan, have you lost your mind? University isn't high school. You can't just go wherever you please. Don't be naive. I won't agree. You should know. Given the Sullivan family's standing, every move you make has to be extra cautious. Don't even mention transferring universities, unless you drop out and retake the National College Entrance Exam. As soon as the words fell, there was a beep, and the call was disconnected. Mr. Sullivan didn't care what she chose. In short, she couldn't use the Sullivan family's influence to manipulate things. If it was just within the city or the state, perhaps, but N City University was so far away, and the Sullivan family's influence wasn't omnipotent. Sophia Sullivan had anticipated this outcome long ago. She felt no disappointment. This call wasn't to ask for an opinion, but to inform. Meanwhile, Zara Taylor on the other side was in the same situation. Mr. Taylor berated her point blank. "Zara Taylor, do you think you're a 3-year-old? One day you want to go here, the next day you're throwing a fit about going there. University is not a joke. With your lazy attitude, getting into the local university was already a result of me praying. Your mother and I will not agree. I know you want to go to N City University for Sincere, but it's still a no. Doesn't him running off so far mean he wants to get away from you? Give up. The Taylor family will not provide any assistance. If you really want to go, figure it out yourself. Don't come to us." Zara Taylor's eyes were downcast, but she remained silent throughout. It was the same for them regardless of which university they attended. Before, they thought he liked the local university, so they deliberately took him to the entrance to take photos and planned to attend university here together. They never expected that to escape them, he would make such a drastic decision. Chapter 16. Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor spent almost the entire night without sleep. The next day they were supposed to attend the freshman orientation meeting with their classmates. Instead, they headed towards the registrar's office. The teacher at the registrar's office frowned tightly, asking over and over, "Isn't the local university good? Why are you dropping out? All that hard work in high school, do you want to waste it? You need to understand the local university and N City University are comparable. Going to either is fine. Moreover, here is more suitable for your future development." The teacher went to great lengths, trying to persuade these two golden Buddhas to stay. However, Sophia Sullivan spoke coolly. "Teacher, with my intelligence, getting into any university would be easy. Since he's not here, there's no need for me to stay." Zara Taylor also added, "Me too. It's just the college entrance exam. A little effort is all it takes. I don't want to be separated from him." The registrar's office teacher was hesitant. Just then, Grant Gordon stood outside the door, having overheard the conversation. He had thought that since all three of them were now at the local university, and only Sincere Miller wasn't, his chance had arrived. He never expected that they would actually drop out for Sincere Miller. "No, Sophia, Zara, please don't drop out. I don't want to be separated from you. Please, look at me, standing here behind you, okay? Please, I beg you, can't you see anyone else besides Sincere Miller? I'm clearly not any worse than him, and I like you more," Grant Gordon shouted determinedly, his small face looking a little on the verge of tears. Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor heard these words, and the strange look and disgust in their eyes became more obvious. There was a deathly silence in the office. After a long while, Sophia Sullivan was the first to break the quiet. "Grant Gordon, I remember what you promised us before." At these words, Grant's heart went cold halfway down. Zara Taylor, suppressing her anger, pulled him out of the office. Then, a punch came whizzing through the air, but it struck the wall beside him. Some debris from the wall peeled off and fell on Grant. However, in the moment her fist came towards him, his heart stopped for an instant. "Grant, we agreed before that you'd help us by pretending with us to make Sincere jealous. You promised us you wouldn't develop inappropriate feelings for us. That's why we chose you," Zara Taylor said sharply, her eyes turning red with anger. Sophia Sullivan's clear, ringing voice also came through. "You promised to help us pursue Sincere, but what now? You used us to force Sincere away, and now you want to confess to us. I remember warning you more than once not to develop inappropriate feelings for us. How should we settle this now?" Their words felt like nails crucifying Grant Gordon, as if he was about to be executed immediately. He was panicked to the extreme, his lips trembling continuously, but he couldn't utter a complete sentence. During this time, he had been immersed in their kindness towards him and had completely forgotten the agreement they had made earlier. He remembered when he first met Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor. He found them breathtakingly beautiful. Sincere Miller introduced him to them again and again. Grant Gordon witnessed firsthand their devotion and care for Sincere Miller. Gradually, a greed took root. He thought, if they looked at him with such admiring eyes, if they treated him so well, then he would probably be the happiest person in the world, wouldn't he? How pathetic Sincere Miller would be then. Just thinking about it, Grant Gordon felt excited. He dreamed of replacing Sincere Miller, of becoming Sincere Miller, and of seeing Sincere Miller completely fallen. So he made a bold decision. Chapter 17, Grant Gordon approached Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor and made a deal for a collaboration. The terms of the collaboration were that they would pretend to be nice to him to make Sincere Miller jealous, while he would help them pursue Sincere Miller. To convince them that this method was effective, he deliberately threw away the love letters they had prepared for Sincere Miller and forged handwriting to write them to himself. When Sincere Miller discovered those 2 love letters signed with Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor's names, the shock and confusion on his face was something Grant Gordon clearly remembered to this day. Indeed, Sincere Miller took the love letters to question them, and just as they wished, Sincere Miller got jealous. After that, they believed him and decided to confess everything to Sincere Miller on the first day of classes at the local university and explain everything. But they never expected that Sincere Miller had already extinguished any inappropriate feelings and changed his university choice. Grant Gordon remembered everything that had happened during this time and laughed like a madman. Ha! Ha ha ha! If Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor hadn't come early, he probably would have remained lost in the beautiful dream he had woven for himself. Their cold and heartless eyes made it seem as if their kindness towards him during that time had never existed. Grant Gordon instinctively reached out a finger, wanting to touch their eyes, but he was stopped by Zara Taylor without hesitation. "You lied to us, and you forced Sincere away." There was a hint of danger in her tone. If it were before, they hadn't planned on dealing with Grant Gordon yet. But unfortunately, he had to foolishly run into them, in which case they couldn't be blamed. Sophia Sullivan's tone was as cold as ice. "If it wasn't for you, Sincere wouldn't have left us. Aren't you most concerned about your future? We will cancel your sponsorship, and also everything you did to bully Sincere before, you will pay back one by one." At these words, Grant Gordon's laughter turned into tears. "Sophia Sullivan, Zara Taylor, stop deceiving yourselves during this time. You had countless opportunities to win Sincere Miller back, but you didn't take them. You pushed him away yourselves. I told you, he doesn't love you at all. The person who loves you most is me. It's me," he screamed hoarsely, attempting to elicit pity from them. However, there was only indifference in Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor's eyes. "Enough. Sincere must still have feelings for us in his heart." "Stop lying," Zara Taylor said quickly, whether from confidence or panic. Then the 2 of them left Grant Gordon standing there and went to process their withdrawal from the university without hesitation. Grant Gordon fell messily to the ground, his heart filled with panic. Just the cancellation of sponsorship alone was enough to drive him to the brink. He had become accustomed to a life of wealth. Returning to the mire was simply impossible. Without money, even surviving would be difficult. Grant Gordon felt some regret for a moment. He quickly got up, taking the card Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor had given him before, and rushed to the bank. "I want to withdraw cash as much as possible." He frantically entered the password, his fingers trembling several times before he managed to type it correctly. At this moment, only a large amount of cash could satisfy his uneasy state of mind. However, at this point, the ATM malfunctioned, displaying "Your bank card has been frozen." He swapped to the other card, and the same message appeared. Chapter 18. Grant Gordon was completely panicked. How could this happen? He quickly switched to another machine, trying to console himself. Right, it must be a machine error. It couldn't be this fast. After trying countless machines, the message displayed was the same. Impossible, impossible. Grant Gordon muttered wildly, slamming the bank cards down on the bank teller's counter, yelling loudly, "Give me cash, take out." "As much as you can," the teller confirmed repeatedly, then frowned and said patiently, "I'm sorry, both of your bank cards have been frozen. You cannot withdraw money." Hearing this, Grant Gordon instantly lost all his strength, slumping to the ground like a pile of mud. It's over. Everything is over. He flung the 2 bank cards onto the ground. He was almost desperate to the point of collapse. He didn't even know how he made his way back. As he walked, he suddenly saw a mischievous child holding fireworks, giggling and playing with a friend. Then, not watching where they were going, the child accidentally bumped into Grant Gordon's leg. "Get lost, don't touch me." He kicked the child flying, and the child immediately cried loudly. Seeing the fireworks in his hand, the child's eyes turned sharp. He lit it and threw it towards Grant Gordon's back. With a bang, the fireworks exploded. Grant Gordon's clothes were caught by sparks, and a patch of his hair was singed off. Help, save me!" Grant Gordon rolled on the ground in agony. Unfortunately, there were no surveillance cameras here and few people came by. The 2 mischievous children who had been playing were nowhere to be found. In a hidden spot, a red dot flickered, and then a black-clothed bodyguard spoke in a low voice on a call. "Boss Miller, it's done. I'll make sure Grant Gordon won't have an easy time." Arthur Miller stood by the French window, looking out over the river, and subtly, "Okay, Ed." Grant Gordon thrashed around for a long time before finally putting out the fire on his back. Then he limped towards the hospital. Even without looking, the intense burning pain on his back made him break out in cold sweat. Grant Gordon's face was ashen. After only a few steps, he fainted face down on the ground. His delicate, attractive face scraped against the ground, tearing off a layer of skin. His nasal bridge was also cracked. After being taken to the hospital by a kind person, Grant Gordon woke up again, his entire body in tearing pain. However, the nurse saw that he was awake and urged him to find someone to pay the fees. "Mr. Gordon, we can't reach any of the contacts in your phone. Surgery and hospitalization fees need to be paid promptly. Otherwise, the necessary procedures cannot be completed, and you cannot continue to stay in the hospital for treatment." Grant Gordon was in so much pain that tears rolled down in large drops. He called Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor one by one, begging them to help him one more time. He couldn't rely on his own family. It was already good enough that they weren't asking him for money. How could they possibly pay for his medical expenses? However, after calling Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor numerous times, someone finally answered. "What is it?" Sophia Sullivan's cold voice came through, sounding like heavenly music to him. "Sophia, please, I beg you, save me. I was injured by fireworks from a child and now I'm in the hospital with no money for surgery. Please just help me one more time. What happened before was my fault, but I couldn't have predicted Sincere Miller's reaction, could I? Didn't you try that plan before, and wasn't it effective? Please, I beg you." Grant Gordon didn't know how many times he had pleaded, his voice hoarse. Chapter 19. Sophia Sullivan, on the other end of the phone, spoke after a prolonged silence. "Speaking of which, I think I forgot that you did so many excessive things to Sincere before. Our measures were still too lenient. That's why you're still dreaming of asking me for help now." Zara Taylor, who was beside her, also said fiercely, "You should pay back what you did to hurt Sincere 1,000 or 10,000 times over beep." The phone call ended. The last shred of hope in Grant Gordon's eyes was extinguished. He didn't want to become a monster, so he used all his savings from that year to pay for surgery. However, limited by money, even after getting the surgery, he was still unable to return to his original state. Of course, these were things that happened afterwards. After dropping out, Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor immediately enrolled in a college preparatory program to retake the National College Entrance Exam. Their story quickly spread throughout the local university campus. Almost everyone was discussing how foolish the two of them were, confessing on the first day of school only to find out the person they were confessing to wasn't even at this university. Some insiders even leaked the details about Grant Gordon. Countless people talked about Grant with evident contempt, but he was lying in the hospital at the time, unaware. Sophia Sullivan believed her grades were good enough. Even without the prep program, she could get into City University next year. Retaking the exam was just a formality. Even though Zara Taylor's grades weren't as good as Sophia Sullivan's, she naturally wasn't worried either. If she couldn't keep up with Sophia, she could hire private tutors. Thus, the two of them rushed to City University shortly after. City University. Sincere Miller's roommates here were all nice people. Everything on campus was so wonderful it almost made him forget Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor. After military training finished, his phone chimed. His roommates joked playfully, "Is that beautiful senior student asking you out for dinner again? Seriously, when are you two getting together? Can we finally get treated to a meal by you guys?" Yeah, lots of people are shipping you two as a couple. The three of us even made a bet on how long it'll take Senior Foster to win you over. I can't afford to lose. The few of them were boisterous, one word after another, and Sincere Miller couldn't help but blush. All right, I haven't decided yet. Besides, she hasn't officially confessed. I'm just thanking her for her help during this time. After casually dismissing his roommates, Sincere Miller changed into a sky blue jacket and stood below the dormitory building, peering around, but didn't see Victoria Foster. Just as he was feeling confused, his military training instructor appeared before him holding a bouquet of red roses. Sincere Miller, I really like you. Could I be with you?" The beautiful instructor stammered out the words she had held in her heart for a long time. Her exquisite face clearly showed nervousness. Behind her, many students gathered, cheering and egging him on. Say yes, say yes. However, Sincere Miller's face grew increasingly unpleasant. He didn't know when exactly he had given her the wrong impression. Moreover, during the military training, the instructor had been exceptionally strict with him. If that was her way of showing preference, then he absolutely didn't need it. He refused righteously. "I'm sorry, I don't like you. I cannot be with you." The instructor's face immediately turned incredibly pale. Her lips moved a few times, seemingly wanting to say something more. Just then Victoria Foster appeared behind Sincere Miller, her warm palm resting politely on his shoulder. "Sincere has already refused you. It's time for you to leave, isn't it?" Seeing Victoria Foster appear, the instructor's face instantly turned gray with disappointment, and she left forlornly. The crowd also dispersed. Seeing this, Sincere Miller was a little surprised. "They seem to be very afraid of you?" Victoria Foster chuckled lightly, her eyes slightly narrowed. She looked very much like a noble from a bygone century. "Of course. After all, I am considered their teacher, so naturally they're afraid." Hearing this, Sincere Miller's confusion grew. "A teacher? Aren't you only 1 year ahead of me?" Chapter 20. Yes, in the latter half of last year, I completed all my undergraduate studies and entered graduate studies early. In the first half of this year, I was a special exception, serving as an assistant teacher to a professor, teaching some student courses. Perhaps because of this, they are so afraid of me. Victoria Foster omitted some facts, but they were insignificant. In reality, having received elite education since childhood, she had already completed many university courses through self-study. Now she was merely fulfilling some necessary steps in life. After all, finishing all challenges too early was simply too boring. It was only after she met Sincere Miller that she felt he was somewhat interesting. Hearing her say this, Sincere Miller's jaw almost dropped. In the lives of many, her resume would be considered remarkable, yet she mentioned it so casually. "You're so capable, they must just feel respect for you." He found an excuse for what had just happened. Victoria Foster smiled shallowly, but didn't explain. Shortly after she first enrolled last year, many persistent admirers confessed to her. but she rejected them ruthlessly and retorted coldly. Many people were brought to tears by her words. As this rumor spread, many students naturally became afraid of her. As she led Sincere Miller to a private restaurant, they unexpectedly encountered two people he didn't want to see. "Who is she? Who is she?" Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor asked simultaneously. Both their eyes held noticeable caution. No one had ever posed such a threat to them, not even each other. Before, they had always thought Sincere Miller would choose one of them to be with. They never expected that Sincere Miller would choose neither, but someone else entirely. Sophia Sullivan's gaze was exceptionally cold, meeting Victoria Foster's stare without flinching. Zara Taylor was like a greedy stray dog, her eyes never leaving Sincere Miller for a moment. They were waiting for his answer. Sincere Miller's heart suddenly leaped. He had never expected to see them in N City. "Why are you here? Who she is seems to have nothing to do with you, does it? At this moment, shouldn't you be with Grant Gordon?" he counter-questioned coldly, his eyes holding a trace of scrutiny. Almost instinctively, he thought they were here to blame him for Grant Gordon again. Just then, Victoria Foster reassuringly held his hand, offering him warm strength. At the mention of Grant Gordon, Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor's expressions became somewhat unnatural. Sophia Sullivan coughed lightly and produced a recent photo of Grant Gordon lying in a hospital bed. "We're not with him. He has received the punishment he deserved. I can explain what happened before to you." Chapter 21. In the photo, Grant Gordon was bandaged in many places. Some exposed wounds were shocking to see. Sincere Miller, however, was indifferent. "So, are you here to beg for his forgiveness?" "There seems to be no need for that." He didn't feel there was anything that needed explaining, so he tugged on Victoria Foster's hand, signaling her that they could leave. Just then, Zara Taylor tightly grabbed his other hand, quickly explaining, "We're not here to beg for Grant Gordon's forgiveness. The way he is now, he deserves it. It was us who were deceived by him before. That's why we were so cold to you and nice to him." Zara Taylor and Sophia Sullivan took turns adding to the explanation of everything that had happened during this period. They were scared that if they didn't explain now, they might truly lose Sincere Miller. In their two sets of distinctly different eyes, there was the same sincerity. However, Sincere Miller felt not a trace of being moved. Instead, he found it utterly absurd. Were they joking, or were they trying to deceive him? He couldn't help but scoff. "Is that your explanation? It's simply ridiculous. Even if everything you said is true, the hurt I suffered is real. I don't want to forgive you, and it's impossible for me to forgive you." Sincere Miller had grown up with them since childhood, so he naturally knew that what they were saying was true. But precisely because of this, it made him feel even more that their so-called love for him was truly disgusting. The past they had together, which he used to miss so much, was utterly ruined at this moment. They claimed to love him, yet for an entire year they had done nothing but hurt him. His heart was made of flesh. He couldn't be hurt repeatedly and still love them without reservation. Therefore, he had completely moved on. But now, they were telling him that the reason they hurt him was because they loved him. How laughable. Sincere Miller laughed and laughed, wiping away the tears that welled up in the corners of his eyes. He felt sorrow for his sincerity in the past. Victoria Foster soothingly put her arm around him, gently patting his shoulder. Sophia Sullivan, Zara Taylor, a mature person who loves someone would never treat the beloved person by harming them. If you truly loved Sincere, you wouldn't have hurt him like that. Also, let me introduce myself. I am Sincere's fiancée. At these words, Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor froze in place. They almost couldn't believe what they had heard. Sophia Sullivan's expression shattered in her eyes. She squeezed out a sentence through gritted teeth. "Sincere, tell me if this is true or false. As long as you say it's false, I'll believe you." Sincere Miller also looked at Victoria Foster with some surprise. He gave her a reassuring look, and Sincere Miller immediately understood. He put his arm around her and naturally intertwined his fingers with hers. "Isn't our behavior obvious enough? My parents arranged this marriage for me a long time ago, and now she is my fiancée. Seeing the atmosphere between them that they couldn't break into, Zara Taylor was so angry her eyes turned red. Let go, Sincere, good boy. Arranged marriages aren't serious. We love you very much. Don't deliberately bring someone here to make us jealous. Saying this, she reached out to try and separate their hands. This joke isn't funny at all. We made mistakes, and you can punish us however you like, but please don't do this. We can't live without you. Sophia Sullivan also approached with a somber face. Sincere Miller's expression changed slightly. He instinctively said to Victoria Foster, "You go first. I'm afraid they might get violent. Both of us might not be able to handle them." Chapter 22. Seeing the wary look in Sincere Miller's eyes, Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor felt somewhat defeated. Did they really seem like people who would resort to violence in his eyes? Victoria Foster stood in front of Sincere Miller. She simply made a phone call, and within a minute several bodyguards appeared and restrained Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor, ready to take them away. "Don't worry, Sincere, you'll be fine." Sophia Sullivan struggled and rushed in front of Sincere Miller, grabbing his hand. "Come with me, leave here. We're going home. We dropped out of school for you. If you like N City University, we can come here for you, but you can't be with her." Her voice was extremely cold, carrying an aura that brooked no defiance. Zara Taylor also tried to rush over but was restrained by the bodyguards and couldn't move. Her eyes were fixed on Sincere Miller, as if he were the only thing in her life. But he knew that wasn't the case. He didn't need this kind of love from them. "Let go. I won't go with you. Your dropping out has nothing to do with me. It was your own choice. I don't like you anymore. I stopped liking you a long time ago. Don't you understand?" His blunt refusal completely shattered their hearts. Sincere Miller's rejection was clear in his eyes. Victoria Foster's azure blue eyes deepened. She forcibly pried Sophia Sullivan's fingers open, one by one. Then, the bodyguards quickly stepped forward and restrained Sophia Sullivan. "Sincere doesn't want to go with you. Don't force him." In front of Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor, Victoria Foster held Sincere Miller's hand and walked into the private dining restaurant. "Are you okay?" Her gentle voice soothed all the turmoil in Sincere Miller's heart. He shook his head. "I'm fine now. Thank you for helping." They sat at the dining table, eating quietly. Their tastes were very similar. The dishes on the table were all their favorites. Victoria Foster occasionally paid attention to Sincere Miller's preferences, helping him with food and refilling his tea. Seeing the corner of his lips turn up slightly, Victoria Foster also subtly curved her lips in return, then discreetly glanced at a hidden corner. "Sincere, you have something on the corner of your mouth. Let me help you." Her fingertip, slightly rough, brushed against Sincere Miller's smooth cheek, leaving a lingering sensation. He was momentarily stunned, somewhat slow to react. "It's all right," Victoria Foster chuckled lightly and continued eating. However, in the corner, Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor, with their mouths tightly taped shut, their eyes were red with anger, lines of bloodshot appearing. How could he do this? The ropes binding Zara Taylor tightened further and further, almost leaving marks on her, but she seemed not to feel it, her eyes fixed solely on Sincere Miller. Sophia Sullivan was no less agitated. Her heart was pounding, and she was still desperately trying to find a way to escape. They had to get Sincere Miller back from their perspective. Through the slightly translucent screen, they had just seen what looked like a kiss. Victoria Foster had been the one to initiate. Sincere must not have initiated it. He couldn't possibly like her. They reassured themselves with this fantasy over and over again. After struggling for a long time, they were finally close to escaping, but they were once again bound by the bodyguards. The two on the other side of the screen conversed happily, occasionally sharing an intimate gesture, the atmosphere so harmonious as if they had been in love for a long time. However, Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor on this side looked at each other with only annoyance. Seeing each other's disheveled state, they only hated their own powerlessness. Chapter 23. N City was the Foster family's territory. The Sullivan family and Taylor family were unwilling to provide assistance. At this moment, Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor were no different from ordinary university students. As long as Sincere Miller was unwilling to leave, they couldn't even forcibly take him away. They deeply regretted their helplessness. But they also realized very clearly the distance between themselves and Victoria Foster. In the past, they considered themselves geniuses and therefore didn't take anything seriously. They were even always very confident about Sincere Miller. They never believed that one day he would be beyond their control. But Sincere Miller's actions completely shattered all their confidence. He had already withdrawn from this tangled relationship, leaving only them still struggling in place. Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor exchanged a glance, seeing the unwillingness in each other's eyes. He didn't know how much time passed until Sincere Miller finished his meal. Only then were they escorted back to their city by the bodyguards. The two were unceremoniously dumped at their doorstep. Before the bodyguards left, they left a message. Miss Foster advises you not to disturb Mr. Miller again. Otherwise, you will face the consequences. Sophia Sullivan quietly got up, completely ignoring her warning. Not bothering him was absolutely impossible. Meanwhile, Zara Taylor, who had just been sent home, was locked up by her father. Lashes of family discipline fell upon her. Her well-built back instantly became bloody and raw, a complete mess of flesh, yet she acted as if she felt nothing. Dad, I won't give up on Sincere. Didn't you support me liking him before? Why can't you continue to support me now? Mr. Taylor slapped Zara Taylor across the face, yelling, You know that was before. How did you treat Sincere this past year? Have you forgotten? You know how many times your mother and I had to go to the Miller family house to apologize? It's bad enough you wronged Sincere and got involved with Grant Gordon, but why turn back now after doing so much? The Taylor family's reputation has been completely ruined by you. It seems your mother and I spoiled you too much before. From today onwards, study properly at home and are not allowed to leave. Mr. Taylor's chest heaved with anger. Eleanor Miller quickly comforted him by rubbing his back. Zara Taylor, however, remained stubbornly unwilling to yield. Dad, Mom, I was wrong to Sincere before. I can take responsibility myself, and I will ask for his forgiveness. But I will definitely not give him up. She knelt stubbornly before the ancestral hall, enduring the blows of family discipline. Mr. Taylor was so angry that he slammed the door and stormed out. If she won't give up, she's not allowed to eat or drink. Zara Taylor knelt in the study for she didn't know how long. Just as she was about to faint, a brick in the corner of the wall loosened slightly. She instantly perked up, gritting her teeth and getting up to pull out the brick. Going? The person on the other side of the brick was Sophia Sullivan. Zara Taylor nodded firmly. With Sophia Sullivan's help, she escaped from the study. Sophia Sullivan's house was empty. However, many items were piled on the ground. Every single one carried memories of the three of them from before. There were building blocks they played with together as children, diaries filled with secrets, and Sincere has always been soft-hearted. He'll definitely forgive us. We just used the wrong method. He'll definitely forgive us. Sophia Sullivan found these items, her eyes revealing a hint of desperation. Chapter 24. Zara Taylor watched, remaining silent for a long time, then spoke with difficulty. Let's cooperate. If it were before, standing on opposing sides, neither of them would have said such a thing. They were already too busy competing with each other. How could they possibly cooperate? But now, facing the same enemy, Victoria Foster, they could only cooperate for a chance to reclaim Sincere Miller. Sophia Sullivan glanced at Zara Taylor and firmly okayed. In just 3 short days, they sorted out all their memories from the past. Looking at the items that filled several boxes, they suddenly froze. For some reason, their hearts were filled with immense panic. Instinctively, they remembered the wedding veils and dolls Sincere Miller had thrown into the trash can that day. Was it really because they had molded? Their own items were still well preserved. How could his mold? Everything that happened in the short 2 months before school started, echoed repeatedly in their minds. Although a vague answer was already forming in their hearts, they instinctively avoided it, unwilling to admit it. The three of them had grown up together since childhood. This bond was something that could never be severed. He wouldn't completely give up on them. Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor both comforted themselves. Not long after returning to their city, they secretly traveled to N City again. In the library, there was a small room exclusively for Victoria Foster. She and Sincere Miller sat facing each other, studying independently, occasionally exchanging a few words. After realizing Victoria Foster's exceptional capabilities, Sincere Miller went to her to study almost every day. She was an excellent resource for the knowledge that couldn't be found in books or fully taught by teachers, given her extensive knowledge. Sincere Miller wished he could stay by her side every moment to learn from her. The atmosphere between them wasn't like the romantic relationship everyone gossiped about. It was more like that of a mentor and disciple. Victoria Foster had also encountered someone who could keep up with her thinking for the first time, so she naturally taught him without reservation. However, this scene, observed by Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor, nearly drove them insane with jealousy. They constructed a giant building block castle made of flowers. The castle was transported outside the library. Inside countless gift boxes, they placed memories from the past years. Innumerable candles flickered like stars, making the entire castle look more magical. Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor had both dressed up carefully, wearing dresses of distinctly different styles, but equally eye-catching. Holding bouquets, they waited with some nervousness. However, after waiting for a long time, several students had gone upstairs to call Sincere Miller, but he still didn't come down. At this point, Zara Taylor could finally wait no longer and shouted loudly towards the building, "Sincere Miller, I, Zara Taylor, have come to fulfill my promise. You didn't hear my confession last time. You can't miss it." This time many students were drawn to the noise and leaned out to see. Sophia Sullivan also followed suit. "Sincere, you promised me before that you would choose one of us to be with. Now is the time to choose." Upstairs, Sincere Miller, the object of their attention, saw this scene and felt not the slightest bit of emotion. He immediately called the police, reporting a fire hazard and disturbance of the peace. Victoria Foster also helped by finding the school's administration staff and called for a sprinkler truck. "Remember the truth or dare game at the class reunion that night? I said that on the first day of school, I would be throwing away two things. That's you two. No matter how many times we start over, I won't choose either of you." Sincere Miller came downstairs and stood across from Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor, saying coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, the sprinkler truck arrived, a stream of water rushing out, instantly extinguishing all the candles. Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor were also doused, becoming drenched. Chapter 25. Victoria Foster quickly reacted, pulling Sincere Miller into her arms and shielding him from all the water. The previously beautiful and romantic confession scene instantly became a chaotic mess on the ground. The flowers, drenched by the water, shed countless petals. The gift boxes were soaked, and some items inside were also drenched, dripping water continuously. A carefully planned confession ended in chaos. Water dripped from the strands of hair on Sophia Sullivan's forehead. Her pale face was horribly embarrassed. Her slightly pale thin lips moved slightly, her voice barely audible. "Sincere, I'm sorry. What we did before was wrong, but can you give me one more chance? I've liked you for many, many years. Look, these things are proof of my affection for you. Don't be so cruel, please." Saying this, she knelt on one knee and took out the familiar family heirloom box. "This pair of jade bracelets can only be yours. If you don't want them, I'd rather smash them." The pair of emerald green bracelets looked elegant and wealthy, but Sincere Miller felt no desire for them. Beside her, Zara Taylor also quickly spoke. "Sincere, I'm not asking you to choose between us anymore. As long as you leave Victoria Foster, we are willing to love you together. You don't have to be troubled, we are both yours. Zara Taylor's dark eyes were filled with an unyielding persistence that could not be extinguished. Then she also took out the family heirloom jade necklace. Many onlookers whispered among themselves, but Sincere Miller remained unmoved. Instead, he found their words utterly absurd. "Are you too crazy? My feelings for you were extinguished by your own hands a long time ago. Let alone forgiving you or being with you again. It's impossible. Give up on that thought. Those family heirlooms are your things. It doesn't matter to me if you throw them away. I don't need them." With that, he simply and decisively slapped each of them across the face. Zara Taylor's face turned deathly pale. Already seriously injured, she couldn't bear this blow and collapsed straight towards Sincere Miller. However, he didn't hesitate to take a step back, letting her fall to the ground. His cold action pierced Zara Taylor's heart completely. Even Sophia Sullivan was startled for a moment. At this moment, Sincere Miller spoke to them for the last time. "Sophia Sullivan, Zara Taylor, don't come looking for me again. I've moved on a long time ago. As far as I'm concerned, you are just friends I used to know. I might be with someone else, get married, and have children, but that person will absolutely not be either of you." Finishing his words, he turned and left without hesitation. Even if he accidentally stepped on a woven bracelet, presumably from their childhood, on the ground, he didn't show any sign of distress. His decisive attitude was clear enough. Sophia Sullivan stared intently at his retreating back, still unwilling to give up, wanting to chase after him. Just then, a few police officers exited their car and asked, "Who called the police? Who put up these things?" After some questioning, the police took Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor away. One police car wasn't enough for everyone, so Sincere Miller and Victoria Foster offered to drive to the police station to provide their statements. The group headed to the police station. However, at that moment, an old van suddenly sped towards the police car abruptly. Chapter 26. Victoria Foster's driver was a retired Special Forces soldier, and his reaction was very quick. He skillfully maneuvered their car to avoid it. However, the police car wasn't so lucky. Even though it tried to avoid, it was constrained by other nearby vehicles and had less room to move. The van seemed to be specifically targeting the police car. Its objective was very clear. It just pressed the accelerator, recklessly crashing into the rear of the police car. If anyone could have seen at that moment, they would have realized that the man driving the van was none other than Grant Gordon, but his face and body were wrapped in bandages, and blood was oozing out when he moved, making him look terrifying. Grant Gordon had gone mad. He had completely lost the will to live. He wanted to die and take Sincere Miller with him after Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor cut off his sponsorship. The small amount of money he had was nowhere near enough to complete his corrective surgery. Even after selling all the gifts they had given him, he couldn't find the best doctor, and the surgery results were mediocre. The doctor told him that recovery would be a long process, and his injuries weren't particularly severe, but Grant Gordon absolutely couldn't accept such an ugly version of himself. Upon returning to the local university, he could even feel the stares of contempt and expressions of disgust directed at him by the students. He couldn't stand being so ugly any longer. So he used his money for plastic surgery. But he was conned. The surgery was halfway done. The cosmetic surgery clinic was shut down, his face was ruined, and the skin on his body was ruined too. Because he had missed classes for a long time, the university repeatedly warned him and finally expelled him. He had lost everything. Why did Sincere Miller still have everything? So, he decided to risk everything and make everyone regret it. He saw Sincere Miller talking to the police and agreeing to give a statement, so he quickly got into his van, having prepared in advance. Grant Gordon drove a dilapidated old van that no one wanted and crashed towards the police car. However, he never knew that the people sitting in the back seat of the police car weren't Sincere Miller, but Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor. He crashed regardless, and the back of the police car was completely dented, the back seat window glass shattered. Sophia Miller and Zara Taylor, including the police officer, were all unconscious. He didn't know where their bodies had been pierced, but blood flowed continuously, staining the police car red. Grant Gordon in the old van behind was no better off. Blood seeped from his forehead, and he was unconscious in the driver's seat. His legs were broken from the impact. It was originally a totaled car, naturally offering weak protection. In that instant, ambulances and police sirens wailed non-stop. Even Sincere Miller felt shaken, quickly asking Victoria Foster if she was all right. He put his arm around her, patting her comforting. "It's okay. We're both fine. They'll be fine too." After going to the police station to provide statements about the police report, they waited outside the hospital emergency room for the Sullivan and Taylor families to arrive. After all, they used to be friends. Waiting here for a while was the right thing to do. After what felt like days, Zara Taylor finally woke up. She was considered lightly injured. Because she had fainting in the car and the police officer had protected her, her injuries were not severe, though one leg was crushed and broken. Sophia Sullivan and the officer in the back seat were not so lucky. The car window glass had pierced Sophia Sullivan's head, which was very dangerous. Although her life wasn't in danger, the outcome was uncertain. The police officer had severe glass injuries all over their back, and some internal organs were ruptured and bleeding, their life hanging by a thread. Grant Gordon had a concussion, and both his legs were broken in the crash. Chapter 27. When Zara Taylor woke up, she refused to see Sincere Miller. "Dad, let him go. It wasn't his fault that day, it was Grant Gordon, and now, I'm no longer worthy of him." The proud young lady of the Taylor family had never been so humbled and defeated before. She couldn't accept seeing him with a broken leg, even though it would heal in the future. She still didn't believe that. What if it didn't heal? Would she be lame in front of him for her whole life? She would find him again when she was completely healed. Zara Taylor's heart was firm. Mr. and Mrs. Taylor sighed repeatedly, but there was nothing they could do. They could only let her have her way. Just then, Zara Taylor suddenly remembered Sophia Sullivan and asked, "Dad, Mom, why haven't I seen Sophia? What room is she in? How badly is she injured?" Mr. and Mrs. Taylor were silent for a long time before telling her the answer. Sophia Sullivan had woken up, but something was wrong with her head. Whenever she tried to think hard about something, her head would ache intensely in waves. She lay in the hospital room, silent for a long time, and also refused Sincere Miller's visit. "Sincere Miller? Who is that?" "I don't know him, don't want to see him," Sophia Sullivan said coldly. Sincere Miller, standing outside the room, heard this and quietly left. He felt a bit guilty. After all, Grant Gordon had crashed his car intending to hit him, and accidentally hit Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor instead. But he hadn't done anything wrong. Therefore, Sincere Miller left some compensation and left. Sensing his departure, Sophia Sullivan in the hospital room shed silent tears. She had been faking it just now. She hadn't lost her memory, but her current state felt no different from amnesia. For someone who had always been intelligent, being unable to think normally and being forced to be like someone who didn't think about anything, this torture was immense. Even though Grant Gordon had suffered severe injuries and been sent to prison, it couldn't compensate for the damage she had sustained. In this state, how could she compete with Victoria Foster? Moreover, she had done so many wrong things. Sophia Sullivan lowered her gaze, her entire being radiating agony. If she had only suffered minor injuries, perhaps she could have used it to play on pity and try to win back Sincere Miller. Now, she was useless. Sophia Sullivan thought to herself despairingly. Not long after, Zara Taylor was pushed into the room in a wheelchair. The same melancholy was in both their eyes. If it hadn't been for Grant Gordon, they wouldn't have fallen to this state. Whatever happened, it would have been better than this. They exchanged glances, both seeing hatred in the other's eyes. Thus, under the pressure from the Sullivan and Taylor families, Grant Gordon in prison lived in misery, unable to find peace in life or death. Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor made the same choice, to hide their situation and refuse to see him. because this way they could at least gain Sincere Miller's apology. Perhaps in a few years after they recovered, they could even use this apology to try again. However, because of their injuries and rehabilitation, they missed the college entrance exam the following year. It wasn't until the second year that they took the exam again. Zara Taylor was accepted into City University. Sophia Sullivan, however, only got into another university in City. This was the result of Sophia Sullivan's desperate efforts. The injury on her head might get better today, or tomorrow, or perhaps never. On the first day of school, Zara Taylor again prepared a surprise and came to the university. However, on this day, many students were walking towards the athletic field, saying there was something lively happening, something about a wedding. "Excuse me, could you help me find Sincere Miller?" Zara Taylor stood below the dormitory building, asking a female student for help. The student's shy expression instantly became difficult to describe. Are you a new student? Sincere Miller and Senior Foster are getting married today, didn't you know?" Mentioning Sincere Miller, the student seemed to have endless gossip. Senior Miller is just as impressive as Senior Foster. He skipped several grades and is now a graduate student by special exception. He might even teach here in the future. Those two are often seen together. They're a perfect match. They confessed and got engaged last year around this time. The scene was so romantic everyone was envious. Now they're getting married this year. So fast if you go to the athletic field now, you might still be able to see their wedding. Hearing this, Zara Taylor was almost frozen on the spot, unable to move for a long time. She didn't know when she had walked onto the athletic field. In the corner, Sophia Sullivan also appeared beside her. They looked at the girl in the white wedding dress not far away, the yearning in their eyes never fading. But they knew it was already too late. Now the bride and groom will exchange rings. Sincere Miller and Victoria Foster exchanged rings. The next moment they hugged and kissed. Countless people cheered and egged them on. Sincere Miller swept Victoria Foster into his arms and ran out towards beyond the crowd. "Are you happy marrying me?" "Happy," Victoria Foster replied with a smile. Perhaps they weren't deeply in love yet, but they understood each other well enough. Two distinctly different souls, the moment they touched, they knew each other was the right person. Without knowing when, Sophia Sullivan and Zara Taylor quietly left, heading in two different directions. The three who were once incredibly close had drifted apart after all. Though they were in the same city, Zara Taylor and Sophia Sullivan often heard about them but never saw them again. They heard that Sincere Miller graduated from graduate school and won an international award. They heard that Victoria Foster had made the Foster family bigger and stronger, and that she and Sincere Miller had a harmonious and happy marriage. They heard, until one day, Zara Taylor and Sophia Sullivan saw news about the two of them on television. Countless people envied their relationship, and even more, their talent and their trust and understanding of each other. Only then did they realize that Sincere Miller had reached a level that was beyond their reach. There was no possibility for them anymore.